Thank you for joining me in this video. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell button to get updates on my next videos. Hi, my name is Paulin, a certified life coach, a disciple, and a disciple maker, as well as a primary leader under the AFIA network of Horizon Ministries. I have been with Horizon Ministries led by Pastor Manric Tan Pascual since 1999 and has been heavily involved in the different ministries of this organization. Currently, I am a digital pastor of Horizon, a keyboard warrior, and is actively engaged in disciple making. I am also a lifelong learner and an investor in lives who wants to add value to you. God has such a wonderful plan for your life. But, do you know what it is? It could start with the question that I'm about to ask you. Do you envy others when their lives seem so put together? Do you get jealous of people's success? Could it be that they have a secret that you do not know about? Or, it could be just habits that make them highly effective people. I realize that one of the most prevalent concerns of our leaders within the organizations are the mindset of the people that causes them to be ineffective individuals. For this reason, I created this training video for those who want to learn how to become an effective person. This lesson is largely based on the book of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, but meant to be applied in a personal and discipleship setting. I will be discussing the 7 habits of how to become effective as an individual and thus as a disciple and a disciple maker. I will also discuss how to manage the activities within your precious time, or better known as time management. Please understand that though I learned this in the corporate setting, working for the hospitality industry, I have also incorporated some timeless principles that would apply to discipleship. So, without further ado, let's dive in. The 7 habits of highly effective people are 1. Be proactive. 2. Begin with the end in mind. 3. Put first things first. 4. Think win-win. 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number 6. Synergize. And the final habit, sharpen the saw. So, these 7 habits are only important or can only become a habit, truly a habit, when you have this paradigm shift. Paradigm shift is an important change that happens when the usual way of thinking about or doing something is replaced by a new and different way. Palitan mo ang perspective mo, ika nga. So, let's dive into habit number 1. Be proactive. There is such a thing as reactive or proactive. Reactivity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy actually. But when you say proactive, it has this keyword, response ability. It is a responsibility, but at the same time, you have the ability to respond. It is the ability to choose how you will respond to a given stimulus or situation. The question is, what can I do differently? Or, simply, what can I do? Or, what can I do differently next time if something already happened? Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. We choose our scripts by which we live our lives. The question is, what is your self-theology? Be honest. Do you often find yourself reacting or responding? There's a difference. When you respond, it's basically taking 2 steps back and say, ano ang pwede kong gawin dito sa sitwasyon na ito? That's being proactive, and then continue doing it. Let's talk about habit number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Do you have a vision for yourself? The keyword here is vision. At Horizon, we have 7 areas to think about. Spiritually, relationally, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, professionally, or academically. Let me show you my vision for myself. Spiritually, to be fruitful. Well, you have to identify what fruitfulness looks like for you and then take those steps to make that happen. Relationally, I wanted to be intentional. Whereas mentally, I want to be focused. Emotionally, I want to be healthy. Physically, I want to be fit. Financially, I want to be free. And then professionally, I want to be consistent. Visualize in rich detail your own funeral. Well, I don't mean to be morbid, but still, you have to think about how your priorities would change, especially if you know that you had only 30 days to live. Start living by those priorities. What is your Vision 2.0 for yourself? Write down these 7 areas and what they look like, and then list down 1 to 2 steps or even 3 steps of how you're going to make this happen. Let's talk about habit number 3. Put first things first. Goals that are not anchored in vision is destined to fail. Respect your goals or your goals could humiliate you. So, the keyword here is priority. The challenge is not to manage our time, but to manage ourselves. Let me talk about the time management quadrant, as Stephen Covey has mentioned. There are actually 4 quadrants here. The quadrant number 1 is urgent and important. Then there is quadrant number 2, which is not urgent and yet important. There's also quadrant number 3 that says urgent and yet not important. There is also quadrant number 4 that says not urgent and not important. What are the activities usually that falls on these quadrants? In quadrant 1, usually these are the crises because it's urgent and yet it's also important. Then there are pressing problems that you need to address. There are also deadline-driven projects. Whereas in quadrant number 2, these are not urgent and yet important activities that you need to face, like relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, and even planning or strategizing for those projects that are not yet on their deadlines. Then there is quadrant number 3, which talks about urgent and yet not important. The activities here could be interruptions, like phone calls, meetings, and things that are not actually important, but then it demands our attention. Then there is quadrant number 4, which is not urgent and not important. The activities here could fall like, time wasters, video games, watching Netflix, or even scrolling on Facebook. These 4 quadrants are actually part of our lives. But the question is, where do you spend most of your time in these quadrants? I personally love to spend time in quadrant number 2 because for a project to become deadline driven, I want to work on it first so that I don't cram, I don't panic, because the more you procrastinate, the more that your project would turn out to be not so well finished, I would say. Dr. Stephen Covey actually said that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priority. So this is where chunks of time management comes in. So let's talk about chunks of time. Chunks of time management, if you would look at the chunks of time, this is basically ascribing to a certain activity that you need to do. And then, of course, there is specific time frame for this. Like, for example, Fusion or Power Wednesday, this usually happens at night, which is 7:30 to about 9:30 in the evening. Write those specific appointments, meetings, or video teachings that you need to watch on time. And then, from there, you can write down your priorities. Kita nyo, no? Ang unang priority ko is devotion and prayer time ko. Tapos, second priority ko muna yung mga Power Wednesday, Life Group, Fusion, Life Soul. So, dito sa mga areas na to, since number 2 siya, ayokong masapawan siya or matamaan siya ng kahit na anong schedule. Like for example, Thursday usually wala namang activity dyan. So, dito kami nagmi-meet ng prayer partner ko. Or, ito yung mga time din na nagbabasa ako ng libro, o kaya nanonood ng mga videos na makakatulong sa akin. Okay, so, and then makikita mo, nasa priority number 3 lang yung trabaho. Ayan, so ganyan ako mag-schedule ng oras ko. This way, I make sure that spiritually I'm growing. Because pag nag-grow ako as a spiritual, as a disciple, then I know na lahat ng areas ng buhay ko magiging maayos din. Alright? So, put first things first, kailangan i-identify mo ano yung mga quadrant number 2 activities that you have been neglecting. And then, create your own time management matrix to start prioritizing. Yung chunks of time management, pwede nyo i-screenshot, and then, take it from there. Kopyahin nyo, ayusin nyo lang, palitan nyo, diba? And then, estimate how much time you spend in each quadrant. Alright? So, let's move on to habit number 4, think win-win. Kung ang habit number 1 to 3 is actually moving from dependence to independence, ang habit number 4 to number 6 is actually moving from independence to interdependence. Bakit? Kasi this time around, you are already talking to people. You already have other people involved. So, that's why habit number 4, think win-win, ibig sabihin dito, dapat isipin mo, pareho kayo mananalo. Dapat, you would have an agreement or solution that are mutually beneficial and satisfying to both parties. So, ano ang keyword dito? Abundance mentality. Because there is actually plenty for everyone. Etong dalawang area na to ang dapat nyong pag-isipan. So, high courage and high consideration, yun ang magre-result ng win-win. Pero if you are low in courage but high in consideration, mangyayari niyan, magiging lose-win siya. Yung isa sa inyo matatalo. Or, malakas nga ang loob, pero low naman yung consideration sa ibang tao. So, ikaw lang mananalo, matatalo yung kausap mo or yung ka-deal mo, di ba? So, win-lose pa rin yun. Wag na natin pag-usapan pag low courage and low consideration. Definitely, lose-lose yun. For us to win, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng habit na win-win. So, think about an upcoming interaction where you'll be attempting to reach an agreement or solution. And then, identify 3 important relationships in your life. Write down 10 ways to always give more than you take. Okay? So, isipin mo lagi, think win-win sa mga bagay na to. Then, deeply also consider your interaction tendencies. Kung ikaw lang ba lagi ang nananalo, o masaya ka pag nananalo rin yung ibang tao. Sabi ni Stephen Covey, you've spent years of your life learning how to read and write. Years learning how to speak. But, what about listening? This is actually my favorite habit. Habit number 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Actually, madalas itong ginagamit sa life coaching. Kasi, as a life coach, you need to be an empathic listener. And, of course, it goes vice versa. Kailangan yung kausap mo rin, vulnerable, accountable, at truthful. Or, what we call sa horizon, VAT. So, ang keyword dito, VAT. Think of a few ways how to get yourself in the habit of seeking first to understand. Sa totoo lang, magkaroon tayo ng reality check. How well do you listen to others? How else do you think you can improve on your understanding others? Kaya ko naman naging paborito itong habit na to because, sa totoo lang, when I'm speaking to my dad, usually siya lang ang gusto niyang napapakinggan, naming lahat. Kapag kami na, ayaw niya nang makinig. O kaya naman, alam mo yun, yung pagpasok mo pala ng pinto, meron na kaagad siyang masasabi na hindi maganda. Like for example, there was one time, pag akit ko ng bahay, sabi niya bigla sa akin, ang incompetent mo. Huh? Ano kaya nagawa ko? Yon. Diba? Tapos hindi man lang siya nakikinig, nagagalit kaagad siya. So, ang pangako ko sa sarili ko, hindi ko to gagawin. Ang gusto ko, papakinggan ko muna kung saan sila nanggagaling, and then, let's find out ways how to think win-win. Let's move on to habit number 6, which is synergy. Synergy actually came from the Greek word synergos, meaning working together. When 1 plus 1 equals 3 or more, wait lang, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yan ang synergy. Baka sinabi mo, Coach, hindi ka naman marunong magbilang eh. 1 plus 1 is 2 lang. Wait lang. Okay? Kasi ganito, ang keyword dito, synergize. Kasi ang synergy, it allows you to create new alternatives and open new possibilities. So, ibig sabihin dito, kapag kunwari may naisip ako, may naisip ka, and then, let's think win-win. Pag-isipan natin, baka naman may mas maganda pang solusyon. Yung best ko, yung best mo, pagsamahin natin, baka mas lumabas pa ang best-best. Diba? So, yun ang 1 plus 1 equals 3. Kasi ang synergy, it allows you to value yung mga differences ng ibang tao para ma-expand din yung horizon mo, ma-expand din yung perspective mo. Eto, nasa sidestep mo yung mga negative energy kasi nakikita mo yung ganda ng ibang tao. Kaya nga ito yung second favorite ko. Let's exercise courage in interdependent situations para maging open at ma-encourage din natin yung ibang tao maging open. Pagka ganun, mas malaki ang chance natin makapag-synergize. So, nakakatalyze talaga dito yung creativity kasi naghahanap tayo ng solusyon na magiging mas better pa para sa lahat. Okay? So, paano nagagawa yun? Looking for a third alternative. Sabi nga ni Stephen Covey, is the key to valuing differences is to realize that all people see the world not as it is, but as they are. So, ibig sabihin, gaano man tayo ka-unique. Siyempre, unique ako, unique ka rin. Pag napag-isipan natin, lumalabas doon yung creativity natin. Di ba ang saya? Okay, so ngayon, ganito ang kailangan natin gawin. Make a list of people who irritate you. And then, next time you're in a disagreement with this person, try to understand their concern and why they disagree with you. Tapos, take time to better understand them. Kasi, then it will be easier for you to change their mind. Or maybe, yours too. Diba? So, make a list of people then of whom you get along with. Okay, so dalawang listahan yon. Isang listahan, yung nai-irritate ka sa mga taong yon kasi parang hindi yata pareho kayo ng idea. Pero, baka naman pareho kayo ng vision, iba lang yung pamamaraan. And then, another list is the people you get along with. And then list down, bakit nga ba kayo nagkakaroon ng agreement? Let's talk about habit number 7, sharpen the saw. Ang keyword dito, renewal. You are your greatest asset, so practice self-care. Only a healthy me can be a blessing to others. Ito yung lagi nating sinasabi sa horizon. So, ang tanong siguro dito sa iyo is, how is your cup? Kasi kapag hindi puno ang baso natin, or hindi tayo puno, ang hirap makapagbigay. So, we can only actually love others out from our overflow. Kapag ka ikaw puno, napakadaling magbigay, napakadaling mag-overflow. And then, yung sa overflow mo, doon nababless ang ibang tao. Can you imagine that? Ang saya kaya. Sa akin, sobrang saya na para sa akin, gustong-gusto ko talaga na tumatakbo lagi kay Jesus kasi nagpapapuno ako sa Kanya para kaya kong gawin itong mga ginagawa ko, yung makapag-add value sa ibang tao. What habit or habits do you need to improve on the most? What actions will you commit to improve on in these habits? Kailangan may action. Hindi pwedeng puro laway lang. Okay. 8th habit is actually moving from effectiveness to greatness. So this is actually one step better than the 7 habits of highly effective people. Ang keyword dito is actually gratitude. When you find your own voice, you can actually inspire others to find theirs when you are grateful. So, dito sa 8th habit, ang tatanungin mo sa sarili mo is, what is your why? Sabi nga ni Simon Sinek, one of my favorite authors actually, is start with why. Kasi pag alam mo ang why mo, ang daling gawin ng ibang mga bagay. So, sa horizon, we have this vision to win souls and make disciples. Nothing more, nothing less, and nothing else. Let's say lang, wala ka pang vision para sa sarili mo. Pwede mong i-take on ang vision ng horizon. I hope I was able to add value to you today. Click the subscribe and notification bell button to get updates on my next videos. Hit like rin ha! Okay, so you have any topics that you want to hear about? Do let me know on the comment section. Join me again. This is Paulin signing off. God bless you. Bye!